Hey, good morning, guys. Um, so I just want to jump on here and do another quick video. Uh, so here, actually, let me show you this. Um, Last weekend, I put together. I've been working on this helmet. You guys have seen it in some of the other videos. If you've watched my silicone mold making videos, this is the helmet that I made the mold from. You can see I have now cut the faceplate off. This chin is also a separate section. So this helmet actually comes apart in three sections: the faceplate, the chin, and then the entire back of the helmet. And I've got it taped together right now just to hold it in place. But I have started working on the hinge mechanism for how this helmet is going to articulate. And in short, and I'll show you this in a second, I want the faceplate to move, obviously, and the chin to move. In the movies, they both open. So his helmet, the faceplate doesn't just move; the whole thing opens like that. The chin moves down, and the faceplate moves up. So I've designed. This was about a year ago, a hinge system. So this is a helmet that I made a while ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I don't use it anymore. Once again, just like so many of my props, I keep this as a memento. It is honestly trash, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. I made it really thin, out of really thin plastic, so it looks all right in kind of a video, but because the plastic was so thin, it is completely warped. I mean, if you'll see, that is the opening you're supposed to try and fit your head in. That is not head shaped. Because the plastic was so thin, its own weight warped itself. And you can see the crown up here, how recessed that is now, because under its own weight, it has just been slowly sinking and sinking and sinking and sinking. And a variety of other problems with this helmet just from those issues. But this was the first helmet that I completed all the way, including hinges. So I'm going to show you what I did and what I'm now going to adapt for this one, because this helmet is bigger and a little bit heavier, but I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. So I've taken this faceplate off. I've unscrewed it and everything. But essentially, what a lot of people do, I should say this first. A lot of people do in order to move the faceplate is they put a couple servos in the top of the helmet. You can see here, there are a couple slits cut in the helmet for the servo line, so the servo arms can pull the faceplate up and down through there. What some people will do is just have it literally hinge up like that. So, I mean, it just pops up on like this flap and it sits up here. Other people will literally just open it like that and put a hinge there. The problem, as I see it, is that's not at all how it's done in the movies. And I want to try and make it as movie accurate as I can. In the movie, the faceplate actually, it doesn't come all the way up here. It doesn't just flap up like this. It sits very tight to the helmet, almost like slides up. So when it's open, it's sitting like this, not up here, not flap like that. So, how can you hinge it to get it from here to here? And move the jaw. And I don't know if you can see this here, but this jaw can move. I'll drop down. So how do you get that? Okay, so I'm not going to take full credit for designing this idea for the hinge. I've adapted it a little bit, but after watching a plethora of YouTube videos and other things, I've decided this is what I'm going to do. So essentially, in order to figure this out, I drew out this little diagram. So this diagram represents, and let me show you on this. This diagram represents pieces of the helmet. So if you look at it, this line is that line. And then this long line is this long line. Or do I go the wrong way around? Let me make sure I got it set up right. Yeah. Easier to show you on this thing. So like so. Now this lets me see where the edge of the faceplate is. All right, so you can see now all these dots. These are places I intend to put the screws for the hinges. So the first screw is going to go here, or right at this crest down here. And the second is going to go up here on the faceplate. So you can have one down here and one up here. Two separate hinges, hinge points. Why? Because one hinge, if you just had the one hinge, that's where you get it moving like that or like that, which obviously we don't want. We want it to slide. So it's going to have two hinges, and they're going to have to be curved. But in order to get the curve right, you need to figure it out. So this line up here represents the edge of the faceplate at the top, and this line, this dot right down here, represents kind of the cheekbone point here, and then this represents the spot right by the eye. So ideally what we want is to get this to slide like so, where the eye is now level at the top, the back of the faceplate, the very far edge, is tight to the back of the helmet, and this would be the cheek part, would sit in this area. So we want a sliding motion. All right? So what are we doing? What have we done? Drawn out some hinges. So essentially, what we're going to do, and this does not match up perfectly with this helmet, it matches up with this other one. I need to resize this. But essentially, you have two hinges. This first hinge hooks to an anchor point on the base of the helmet and an anchor point at the top of the faceplate. And it is curved. And it's curved so that when you get this hinge moving, watch, if it's hooked here and this piece, it would be probably hooked closer down here, like so. Watch this top hinge. When you move it, it keeps the helmet, the point ends at the top of the helmet. It keeps it tight. It's not just a flat line that moves up and down. It was a flat hinge. That's where you get that. We want this. So the curve keeps it nice and tight. Now the second curve, this one, is probably the more important of the two. Because this one is going to anchor down here, once again, in the base of the helmet, and then to the cheek right here. And that main part is to keep this tight, so keep the front of the faceplate tight. So rather than, I mean, even if you had two hinges, you could still end up all the way like out here, or one of these. That second hinge is to keep this piece tight down. So the first hinge keeps the top tight, second hinge keeps the bottom tight. So you don't have this thing flapping around. And you'll notice it has this little protrusion here. This protrusion and that dot right there represent a hole. I'm going to drill a hole into that little protrusion space and put a push rod. And this push rod will go from that hole, which will be about here in the helmet, down inside the helmet to this chin piece. So when this moves up and this hinge turns, you'll look, that dot on that protrusion moves this way and pushes that push rod down, which forces the jaw open. And when the whole hinge system closes, that dot pulls up and pulls the chin shut. I've already done this, like I said, on this guy. And you can see the hinges here. These are made out of styrene. I literally just took styrene and cut it. Styrene is a hard plastic. It's decently strong enough to hold the faceplate up. But you can see here the protrusion and the hole drilled for the push rod. On the inside, you can see push rod. So when the faceplate opens, push rod pushes. I'm trying to get you to see that really well. Lighting's not the best. The push rod pushes that chin open. When the faceplate closes, push rod pulls it shut. So yeah, that's just kind of walking through what I intend to do for the actual this bigger one. Now it's just to do it. Resize these to get them to give me the right angle, the right amount of curve to get this hugging the faceplate as best it can. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and subscribe if you like these, if these are beneficial or helpful for you. And check out my Instagram too. I try and post photos pretty regularly, kind of just updates on what I'm doing and how things are going. So thanks again for watching, guys.